Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Zwift Community Live broadcast of the Dave Jordan Central Park Classic. We are out on the park perimeter loop for 4 laps in the men's race and 3 laps in the elite women's race. Riders in the men's race are just getting out on course as it's the fast and furious usual start that we do have in the men's races. And the women's race looks like it'll be starting in about, from what I can see here, 2 minutes and 37 seconds. I'm Nathan Guerra, going to be host alongside of who I've got here virtually, Dave Towle over in Colorado. Dave, pretty cool event that Zwift has put together here to replicate what looks like to be the main supporting organization of youth cycling coming out of New York. And their first event every year would be this Central Park Classic in memory of Dave Jordan.
Yeah, Dave was a special person. There's no doubt. We lost him back in 2012. And Nathan, as you well know, this community, the New York cycling community, is one of the greatest in the world. Talk about tight-knit, looking after each other. They've taken some hits along the way, but these folks really know how to join together. And today's a great example of that. So it was brain cancer that took Dave Jordan back in 2012. His friends really rallied around him. And I believe that we have, there's some really special riders with us today, Nathan. People matter in this world. I'd like to start with Eric Min, one of my favorite people on planet Earth. Eric is going to be out there. He's really one of the co-founders of Zwift and our leader in that family. I see the former world champion, Mike McCarthy, is joining us. He's been a longtime friend of Zwift, and I'm really happy to see Mike out with us. He started racing for the CRCA. That's the Century Road Club of America. They, Nathan, are one of the OG clubs in American racing, and they've been out here racing in Central Park for many, many years. It's always
Mike
super
was 15,
early.
it said. I think he was 15 years old.
15.
So, I mean,
yep.
Yeah, pretty.
So
pretty
he was
amazing.
one of the riders that they supported back in those early days. I was lucky enough to have Mike on my podcast a couple of years ago. He's got a really interesting origin story, and it's a lot more than Mike. I mean, when you look at it, Ben Wolf is racing. He's out of Connecticut, but he would have hauled down to Central Park to jump in this race every now and then. So what we're doing, Nathan, as you well know, virtually, we're trying to recreate what was a very special day of racing. Of course, I want to thank Charlie Eisendorf as well. Charlie would have been out here at 2:30 in the morning setting up cones and tables. And back in the day, Charlie's dad organized and ran all of these Central Park events. So we have brought together there's Charlie right there. Another one of my very favorite people. Hey, Charlie gets undersold. We talk about Mike McCarthy a lot. Charlie was an absolutely fantastic racer, starting as a junior as well. I mean, actually, if you look on Charlie's Facebook, you can see pictures of Charlie on a 24-inch wheel road bike. It was just amazing, the love that he and his father shared for this sport. So this is a celebration of Dave Jordan. We lost Dave in 2012, but he'd be looking down on this and absolutely loving the fact that we've got a race going on this Zwift platform. I'll throw it back to you, Nathan. I know you've done a lot of work to help us figure out what the course looks like today. They're doing a little under 39K, I believe. Total for the men.
Just a couple of real quick things, just so everybody knows how they can interact, as well as what is going out on course here. So, if you do want to interact, you do have any photos that you want to bring on into the broadcast, something we haven't highlighted as of recently, go ahead and you can go ahead and comment on the Facebook feed, but you can also tweet at Z Community Live with any questions or comments. And specifically, I want to highlight that at Z Community Live on Twitter, because it's really easy for us to bring in your live media. Photos of you riding, of who you're with, or anything that has to do with the event itself. I do know that there's a lot of people that are close to this event that might be watching at Z Community Live on Twitter with any kind of media you can go ahead and bring right on in. Let's take a quick little look, though, at our course as well for the day here. We are doing the park perimeter loop. This is going to be 4 laps, as we had said. It's a little bumpy, fairly flat. There's a little sprint section, and it is an uphill puncher of a finish, as you can see at the end. They're just a little bit of a grind. Let's go ahead and take a quick little look, though, at something that gives us a little bit more idea. This is the Central Park, obviously, park perimeter loop, but then this gives you the idea of what kind of punches we do have in there. The sprint Reverse does have a sharp little grind on there. And then we also have, obviously, at the end there, toward the end of that 9-kilometer loop, that's very sharp uphill grind. We are getting into this first climb, though, at the 3-kilometer mark. And let's go ahead and jump in with the racers. And this is going to be this first split point. It looks like Charlie may be suffering to hang on here. 2.9 watts per kilogram currently. We're going to jump forward to Kristen Faulkner here from Team Tibco SVB, rider who's been taking on a lot of Zwift racing and is jumping in amongst the boys here, it looks like, as well as Murray from Saris Infinite here. So a couple of the ladies here mixing it up. Co-ed racing, it looks like, here out on Zwift here today. Dave, I believe you muted your mic, just as a heads up, bud.
Sorry, Nathan. Are you hearing me okay?
Yep,
No?
you're all good. All good.
Okay, good. So I was going to say Charlie became a father just in this last month. So there hasn't been a whole lot of sleep happening around the Eisendorf house. So I'm going to cut him some slack there. I will say Kristen Faulkner is the revelation of the 2020 cycling season, even though we've had to do it virtually. Nathan, you have done a tremendous job. We had a Redlands race. We just did Tour of the Gila, and Kristen Faulkner was one of the standout riders at that Tour of the Gila, along with her teammate Lauren Stevens. And then one of their main adversaries there, the infamous Saris rider Caroline Murray out of Scotland, although Caroline now lives in the United States. And boy, does she have a broad palette of skills. Looks like a little attack going clear. Is that going to be Mike McCarthy rolling off the front right now?
Mike McCarthy just covering it, looks like here. He's at about 4
Well,
watts
I
per kilogram.
apologize.
DJ Rip, it looks like, is in the name. Then it's going to be G. Olson here from the CRCA Foundation, looking to get off the front here a little bit now. 180 beats per minute, though. 2% uphill gradient, though. But this is a solid little dig, and we're kind of letting him go a little bit here. The train, though,
this is
jumping on that.
A classic Ben Wolf type move. He's the pro out of Connecticut who rode for Jelly Belly for a couple of years, is now working as a coach. That's the kind of thing I'd expect him to do. Nathan, looking at that DJ Rip, it makes me think of the Beastie Boys. I don't know if you had a chance to see that, the documentary that they had on Apple TV, but I know a lot of these men and women would have been very affected by the Beastie Boys in the 80s. Mike McCarthy, a great example of that. There's so much cool stuff happening every single minute in New York City. This is one of my favorite places to ride, Nathan, in this world. It's surprisingly not flat, if you know what I'm saying. I mean, I get it. There's no Coles, there's no Bergs out here, but I would have thought as a kid that Central Park would have been a relatively flat place, but it's rolling hills for sure, which really creates for some great bike racing as we're looking at the Train, Charles, Hoggle, Baldwin, all rolling up near the front. Boy, Nathan, they're sorting some things out right now. These guys
they are 11 watts
today.
per kilogram here from Baldwin from Jameson, Canada, and they're looking to go across. And that's the right kind of move there. Boardman now maybe trying to get across here as well, but then it's going to be Endurance Works here now with Steve. I've been racing this guy every single Wednesday, actually. Me and him are going back and forth in the USA Cycling Series. He's got a kick on him. Be watching out for Buds here, because this Endurance Works athlete here, 172 beats per minute currently, but I think he's going to be looking to stay involved at the front end here and looking for that sprint, maybe allowing a couple of the other riders to come back, trusting that this group is going to pull things back together. Let's go ahead and make sure we do have a women's elite race going on as well. They'll be doing 3 laps, 4 laps for the men, as you can see here. Women's race, though, they're just getting into their 3-kilometer mark point where there was a split in this men's race, and we can see Skoufis as well as Grossman from CRCA going off the front, 194 beats per minute currently coming from Skillfuss, and then Grossman, they're right on the wheels with Myers there from the BRT team, trying to lead things out for the pack, as we do have some separation, though, in the men's race here as well, it looks like, but I think this pack is going to come all back together.
Nathan, in the women's race here, there's some notable names. Now, the CRCA, the Century Road Club of America, has a lot of variations of squads. And as far as the women go, the Dave Jordan racing version, that's Atul Jordan, Dana Scott, we have out with us, Lucy Brash, Emily Singleton, Christina Grossman, Carolina Rabat, Galen Bullard, and Erica Edelberg, just some of the riders. But Nathan, if you look at it, you can see there's the CRCA Dave Jordan Racing Team, the Rockstar Games Team. These all fall under the umbrella of CRCA. You really get a feeling of the impact that they've had on racing there in New York City and far beyond. And it looks like we got a 2-ladder split. The aforementioned Grossman going with Gufos, I believe. And these two are pouring it on, Nathan. Just 4.3 kilometers in, we got ourselves a jailbreak here in Central Park.
We do have Brash here looking to bridge across, it looks like, and then the chase is on here from, it looks like, Bollard and then Culver. Is that going to be Christine Culver, if I want to say here, making the chase as well here? So some serious Zwift talent making a debut out here today. And Myers now from the BRT team. I think this is going to come back together to form a solid lead group. There are some chasers here trying to get back on terms, but I think these two are going to be riding 2-up team time trial at this point as our games. And then it is going to be, I believe, Christine Culver now getting dropped off, though, here. Myers from the BRT team right on the wheel there, Boillard. But in the women's race here, things heating up immediately. But now Brash has made her way across here, and we have a 3-up team working together lead group with a chase here coming from Parr as well as Koczynski, and then Myers a little ways back from that BRT team. So that's the situation here in the women's race. Again, 3 laps for the women. The total for each is going to be right around 9 kilometers. So you are looking at about 27K here for this race. In the men's race, though, things have come all back together. Do see a lot of power-ups being used as they are heading in to the final little kicker we'll see each and every lap before they hit the finish line. It will be the lap as well as the finish banner here. Let's go ahead and jump back in with the men as we see how things are working out as they come back together here on course.
There are a lot of level 40 plus Zwifters in this group, Nathan. These are some of the early adapters of Zwift for sure. I would have to say that New York City would have been a hotbed of early Zwifting activity, and it makes a lot of sense when you consider the busy lifestyle and the lack of access to good training roads that folks in New York City would have. I'm really happy to see this group coming back together right now. But Nathan, we're going to get a good look, actually, at the last kilometer. So always good if you're going to reconnoiter things to know what you're racing across to get to the finish line. And this is the last K that they're just starting their preview of on the first of 4 laps for the men on this 9.7 kilometer circuit, the park perimeter loop here at Central Park. Nice working group right now, Nathan. There's a lot of respect among these individuals. Everybody, I think when you're riding at the Dave Jordan Central Park event, you bring your A game, don't you? A ton of respect for what it's taken for all of us to get here. As we pick up here with the foundation rider now, that's going to be Olsen opening up a little bit of a gap. Let's see if anybody wants to go with him, Nathan. He could use a hand.
Olsen is the same rider that gave a little bit of a dig after the first initial stinger that they do hit up on the back end of the course here. 2 seconds now. Levinson now looking to maybe just ramp things up enough for the pack to bring things back. You know, he's going to need a lot more than 4.5 off the front here with the way the group is going to be able to work together. There's going to be a little bit of a downhill as they'll take a right hand instead of a left hand turn. And then this is the lead in to the sprint that they are going to see each lap. This very sharp 6% downhill gradient, and then it kicks right on up into the finish line here. And according to the description for the event out here, it's kind of a cool little description I was able to read and get some more information on this. That this is the Dave Jordan Classic is the most prestigious race held in Central Park, and obviously named in honor of Dave Jordan, as we said. Race is a trifecta of open races held midsummer in Central Park. And so it starts in this race, the Dave Jordan Central Park Classic, then it's the Lou Maltese Memorial, and then the Mengoni Grand Prix. Now, the cool thing also is that this replica of a course that we're seeing right now has a very similar, obviously, well, almost exactly the same as what they would be seeing in real life for this race. And so the park perimeter route is a replica of the main Central Park loop, including Harlem Hill, which we saw that first initial kick, and then Cat Paws Hill, which we just went over for that lap, each and every lap. So that's every time I go into that kicker, I'm always going to remember Cat Paw from now on. I lost a sprint the other day against Nick White, actually, out of Australia, on that exact little kicker in a sprint, actually.
Nathan, you can see too that that last 200 meters, it pitches up to 7-8% grade. So it's a really unique finale as the guys just went under that arch a little less than a kilometer ago. I saw Mike McCarthy was starting to apply some pressure out here. That's going to certainly have the alarm bells ringing back through this group as we look at Huisman. As this is another gap, and these numbers are inching towards the exceptionals. Just looking at 5 watts per kilo there as this gap starts to open up. Nathan, these guys, it looks like, are going to keep the powder dry out here. This is like a VIP of the VIPs when you talk about who we've got racing out here. You brought up that name, Fred Mengoni. Nathan, both Mike and Charlie rode for the Mengoni Cycling Club. This was the team of Matt Eaton, that won the milk race. Matt Eaton rode for Mengoni. They won the milk race, which was the biggest pro-am race of the 70s and 80s. Actually, folks would know Phil Liggett, the commentator. He actually was the director of that event. But going back to Fred Mengoni, in New York City, he was El Capitan of cycling, without a doubt. And Mengoni had a worldwide range. Riders like George Hincapie would have ridden for that squad in their very first season. So there's a real legacy that we've got out here as things pretty chill right now, Nathan, when you look at this front group. So we have the men and the women out here, but it is worth noting, I've got to think that Kristen Faulkner, who is now living in California, she's a Stanford graduate, was a collegiate rower at Stanford, and they have quite a team there. She, Nathan, I talked about at the beginning of the show, has absolutely been the breakthrough rider. We're expecting really big things from her. She's got Olympic gold medal in her DNA, and we'll see if she can make that work. She's not in the women's race, though. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've got both Murray and Faulkner in the men's race right now.
Yeah, they jumped in. Well, it's a co-ed race. It was a men's and women's mixed race that they opened it up for. So, if they wanted to be men's only, Zwift does have the ability to shut the categories down for men only or women only. And for this, they decided to open up all of the categories so that they could have a women's only event for the D and I believe it was the E categories, and then with certain watts per kilogram on those. And then they had a men's and women's event at, I believe it was A through C events. So, and they did jump in here, and it looked like Harlem Hill was a little bit too much when the pressure really got applied at the front end here. But we'll be heading back on over to Harlem Hill in just a moment. We do get some chatter coming on through. Good to see Kevin Hatt coming on in. Good to see Kevin was as he is cheering on Mike McCarthy, actually. And great to see a lot of the people that are involved in the background over at both the CRCA and at Zwift, and how this has all come together here. He's actually cheering on Mike, it looks like. Mike McCarthy. Go MC Mike McCarthy. If you guys do want to involve yourself in the broadcast, you can do so, just as Kevin has done here, as he's cheering on who he thinks. I'd love to hear who people they think are going to win, or who their favorites are, or even any kind of background information on their experience with the CRCA and this specific race in itself, any past memories or anything that might be similar that you're seeing out on Zwift. Always great to see the inside info.
Tenley Jordan Cedarstrand wrote a really sweet note to everyone about who Dave Jordan was, what the foundation is about. As we've kind of parsed that out a little bit, I'd highly recommend folks go and get a hold of that and read it, because Dave really represents a lot of the core values of what Zwift are about. Nathan, you know as well as anyone. I mean, Zwift Community Live has been a passion of yours for a long time. This community is a big part of why Zwift has been so successful. Nothing to do with the COVID-19 thing that has brought thousands and thousands of new Zwifters to the platform, but that original ethos of community is super important. And same thing here with the CRCA and what Dave Jordan did back through the years. Dave was a coach and a cyclist for more than 25 years. That's what you call a leader in your community, that's for sure. Nathan, these guys apply the pressure here at the front of the group, and no one's quite able to crack the code right now. T the Train is a rider that has been certainly one of the instigators out here as they work their way through their second of 4 laps here on the Park Perimeter Loop in Central Park, New York City.
Harlem Hill here, man. It's so incredibly difficult. Did you see the punches there coming on up, and it does look like Pornovo's CCNS. Always going to be difficult to hang on through here if they put a solid kick in. It looks like is he in the Koa kit? Is that right? He is using the Koa kit. Good to see the Koa Sports kit.
The Australian team.
The Australian boys here making their way in. So looks like he's obviously gotten involved in that series of races that we've been holding on Zwift Community Live. So good to see a little cross-pollination going on between all of the races and the organizations. Now, a little bit of a split, though, here. It looks like 1 second. This group does have some formation.
This is a moment here.
Yeah,
this is a real moment. Yep.
with that arrow power up on the front too from Charles, that's going to speed them all up as they do have the gap. But I believe it looks like it's going to get shut right on down by Wagner as well as Crockett there from RRR. Jamison as
Look
well.
how strung out the group is.
They are strung
Nathan.
out, though. There could be a few that straggle, and you do see 3 or 4 stragglers off the back there. Looking through here, does look like it's going to be Simpson Dore as well as Ito coming out of Japan. We are seeing quite a few riders here now falling off that next time. Second time over the top of Harlem Hill, been a little bit of a sting in the legs for some of the riders.
Nathan, I know that you're a big gamer outside of just the game of Zwift. That R-Star that we've been talking about, that's Rockstar Games that are located in New York City. They've been supporting racing, and I hope they continue. Right, yeah, you know Grand Theft Auto, of course, by Grand Theft Auto number 16 or something now, but they've come a long way. But the Grand Theft Auto folks have a passion for cycling. They actually supported. So we were just going over the Harlem Hills. So as you are in Central Park, it's amazing the size of this park and how it dominates well, maybe not dominates as much as some of us would like, but the role that it plays in the lifeline of New York City. Well, Harlem has really seen some interesting a decade here, and we have done a criterium in Harlem. John Eustace, the first ever U.S. professional road champion, back in, I'm going to say it was 1985 in Baltimore that he won that jersey. John has been actively promoting races. I don't think he is now. I think he kind of retired, but that was another big part of the New York scene. Every midsummer would be the skyscraper criterium. Justin Williams, our friend in the platform of Zwift, has won that event. It's I don't think it's happening now, although it won't be happening in 2020. That's for sure, as the COVID-19 lockdown has pretty much eliminated every in real life bike race. So now we just moved to this, and it has been absolutely awesome racing on this platform. But there you go, Nathan, bringing up Andy Zephyr.
Andy Zephyr's letting us know that Toga coach Len Prenheim, rest in peace, saw the raw talent in Dave Jordan. Dave joined the team that had Nelson Vales and Carney Brothers, etc., in their roster. And he says a little NYC DJ history coming on.
There you go.
Thanks a lot, Andy Zephyr. Appreciate that.
Nelson Vales is obviously the Olympic silver medalist in the sprint, the match sprint for the Los Angeles Games in 1984. Nathan, he rode for Toga, is a bike shop in New York City that when you talk about cycling culture, can you imagine what it would have been like in 1982 hanging around the bike shop with Nelson Vales and all of these messengers and that vibrant scene that was happening in New York City? It's like Quicksilver, the movie, except cool.
I'm gonna leave that one to you for your.
I don't think
lesson.
the Quicksilver people are going to be too worried about my. That was Kevin Bacon in that, right? So
absolutely loving this coming from Kevin. Don't forget, Kristen Faulkner raced for Team Dave Jordan as well. So and out on course here today. So great to see, and as she's riding for Tibco, got her start. It's so cool to hear where so many people get their starts, where they get their support from, their early days, all of that. And, that's what it's really all about. We've talked about that actually quite a few times here on the broadcast. Talent identification, obviously a huge part of what Zwift is all about, part of their culture, part of their ethos, with the Zwift Academy. And I would, you would have to think that a lot of what's going on with the Zwift Academy, there's the amazingness of the ability to have riders from all over the world compete against each other. And that's part of that inspiration has to be coming from these roots that obviously the founders and many that have worked and been the heart and the blood of Zwift for so long have experienced here with Dave Jordan.
I couldn't sign off on that anymore, Nathan. Absolutely true. I mean, going back to Charlie, you have to remember that this cycling community is built on the cornerstones of people that are willing to wake up at 2:30 in the morning and go down to a dark and rainy Central Park to start setting up the race. My appreciation for people like Charlie, it's off the charts. So Charlie was with us earlier in this field. They've whittled it down quite a bit out here, Nathan. The women's race also, if you take a look here, that looks like a group that's going to be not even half a dozen riders riding on the front right now. They're already 13.8 kilometers in on this deceivingly challenging park perimeter loop here in Central Park. So the women are coming up on their midway point of the race now.
Yeah, Grossman here now from CRCA on the front. They were able to drop off Myers. Looks like now she's going to be joined with a chase group here from the BRT team as they hit Harlem Hill. D. Scott as well as Bollard there from it looks like
pitch.
Rockstar trying to get back on terms. That'll be a chase group of 3. They're not going to be bringing anything back, but they will be looking to hold off Cope, Clifford, as well as Singleton and Christine Culver to try. And it looks like this is pretty cool. I like this kit that Rockstar is using here. In game here, they're using the MAA P kit here. Nice little. I love it how they've gotten organized here and put the Rockstar in game. So really easy to identify them. But they're going to be chasing down their teammate perhaps, Bollard, D. Scott, and Myers. And Myers now puts a little bit of a dig in, is able to drop off. Maybe watching the broadcast and gets a little bit of encouragement there with the TV time. Arrow power up immediately opens up a solid 4-second gap. We'll see if Scott and Bollard can chase that down. Going to have a tough time doing so. As Myers being part of the Bolt Racing team, probably a very experienced rider out there. Chilling on the Cervelo, it looks like with some 404s, I believe. So solid move here. But this is going to be your lead group. Very Grupo Compacto. Scufa, it's going to be Kolchinski as well as Brash, and then Grossman all together. Group of 5. Par now to the front, 3-5 here. They're just taking steady pulls. Looks like a couple of them faking it to make it. They're probably looking for the sprint. It's going to be coming in about a lap and a half.
Yeah, so 3. Remembering we have 3 laps for the women, so as they complete their second, they're going to be out on the bell lap pretty quickly. A little bit of some pressure being applied as we watch a rider coming out of the group. Nathan, I mean, these false flats, I think it's safe to say 2% is a false flat. 1% certainly would be a false flat. This is one of the hardest places to hold on Zwift when they start applying the pressure. And you can see, I mean, just 22 minutes in, and we're down to a 4-rider lead group here for our women's race. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play out the final lap here. I would not be surprised, Nathan, if our winner of the women's race comes across the line alone, not even having to lock horns in a sprint here and is able to get away from this group. But time will tell. There's a rider fighting back. I love to see that as we go back to the men now. We'll pick up with Levinson, and this group doesn't look all that larger than 25 either, Nathan, here.
Yeah, there were a couple of attacks just a moment ago while we were hanging out with the women's race there. They were attacking through the little undulations on the back end of the course before they hit Paw Hill. So Cat's Paw Hill now is going to be a deciding factor each time because it gets into that 8%, but then it doesn't level out. It gets into 2-3% false flat situation. And as you put down the power on a course like this, in this section, everybody kind of has to match the speed, get back on terms, hold the wheel. And because of that, you can see it's putting damage on the back here. Anybody who is suffering over the top of that lap banner is going to struggle. And look, you can see the Koa, I believe it's the Koa kit on the front, but it is going to be a 4-second gap back here to Villafano, Jamison Cannondale. Using a drafting power-up. Not going to do much for him here, though, because that drafting power-up, he's got to be a lot closer to gain any kind of advantage from that here. And maybe not going to get back on turns 5-7 here. 39 kilometers per hour. He's going to have to do better than matching the speed. But he does have a kilometer per hour. He's almost there. That 1 second matters, those 6 watts per kilogram. He has to get back on terms now or it's game over.
Yeah, Gino Villafano is the rider that you're talking about, Nathan. He's one of the stronger guys in this group, the Jamison Cannondale rider. I'm still hunting around. I'm wondering if Wolf took the start, Ben Wolf out of Connecticut. I haven't seen his name pop up yet. If he is in this group, he's an exceptionally dangerous rider. I know he's been working hard, but I'm not seeing him, Nathan. So I'm going to continue to look here as we do our inventory, as is normal. Krakic, the rider that we're looking at now from the Triple R squad. So they're into the business end, the second half of the race for the men. It'll be a little bit, 38.8 kilometers is my best estimate for how far they're going to be racing out here today. Wait a second. Did I see a U13 rider hanging in here?
I do see a U13 here. It says Star Trek.
Edmonds. Let me do some research here. If that's true, that is exceptional. That's what you call, Nathan, punching above your weight. If a 13-year-old can hang in this group with Eric Min and Mike McCarthy, I'm signing him up for the U.S. Olympic team right now.
We do have M. Cesar here now off the front, 4-9. He gave a little bit of attack, as I said, on that false flat section of the course. They just kind of let him roll away here. Weren't too interested. I believe they think they're going to bring him back as a group down the backside of Harlem Hill. or on the front, excuse me, on the descent before Harlem. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. I mean, the pack will bring back at least 10 seconds, but this is going back out to 20 here, and no serious effort now. He's got a solid tenth of a kilometer on the rest of the group here. Now, it does descend, though, from here on down to the bottom of the hill. So we'll have to wait and see. This will bring back some solid time. He's going to need a huge amount of effort. And then the question is, when they kick for the third time over Harlem, we may see a lot of time come back. But that closing of the gap to that rider, this could instigate 9-10 watts per kilogram, and the kind of split that would cause the riders to bridge to that rider, form a group up front, and drop any dead weight off over the top of Harlem Hill.
Yeah, it's interesting, Nathan, when you say that. An attack like this can ultimately bring your own doom as well if you push this group, if you poke this bear too hard, and you start seeing those numbers popping red and over 8, over 10 watts per kilo. All of a sudden, a solo rider watches a 20-second advantage. That'll disappear like a puddle in a parking lot evaporating on a hot August day. It's not going to be out there long. And this group has got a tremendous amount of horsepower. Nathan, these guys are champing at the bit. Look at the way this group is shaped right now, right? There's no gaps at all. Everybody is squarely on the wheel. These guys clearly know what they're doing. We've got some experienced Zwifters out here today in the Dave Jordan Central Park.
Yeah, and with this rider off the front, that's a good point that you made there. They don't have him in sight, so he's really pushed on, gotten a good gap, and I was worried that they'd catch him on the downhill before they actually hit the climb. Now that he does have this gap, though, to work with, and they do take this left-hand turn into the serious gradient, we are going to see some attacks. I was worried that he'd get caught and they'd go flying right on by him here. They do have him in sight now. He's got about a 10-second gap here at this point. Now I'll go here now, 8 watts per kilogram. So he does have orange numbers to give still, it looks like here, and Cracky here now making his way to the front. When is this group going to attack? They're kind of just looking at each other. Look at this, though.
This is like that moment when you start hearing the popcorn popping, right? It's popping now. We're going to start
time to check the microwave. I'm not sure if it's time to eat yet, though, because Levinson is only 6'6" here, so they're kind of trusting a little bit, and he's carrying on. Cicere is just like, no, 190 beats per minute. You're not coming to get me. Matching their watts here at this point. Very interesting lull in the pack here, as they're not willing to chase too much. Now, as we get into 9-10% gradient, we may see a response, but he may just be showing that he's just got the power and the talent to ride away from this group. We'll have to wait and see what this group is going to do here in response. There it is, Star Trek here. And I did get a comment coming in from Facebook, actually. Good to see Gregory Olson coming on in with a quick little Star Trek with an exclamation mark. And he says, dual national champion, he's real, is what we're hearing, actually, from this 13-year-old. So definitely, 13 years old, dual national champion.
That's
amongst
incredible.
That group. That's a commitment there. Not just from, that's a full family commitment, that's for sure. So good to see and good to hear. Love to see the youth coming on in.
Oh, Nathan, I'll be completely honest with you. If before we started this broadcast, if you said a 13-year-old junior, do you think he can hang in the front group today? I would have said absolutely not. I couldn't even imagine a world that would happen. So that is the ride of the day, without any doubt, no matter what happens out here. And that's one of the beautiful things about what Zwift has done, is trying to get young people healthy and active and part of this community. And a good example is, Nathan, that the fees will be waived for young riders just to get them out here. I know there's a few events that are really looking to the future, that's for sure. So the women coming up on 20K in, the men coming up on 25K in here. It's 38.8 kilometers for the men. And let's go with just about 10 kilometers less for the women out here as we start to ramp things up at the Dave Jordan Classic. I'm really happy, Nathan, that we have a chance to remember Dave Jordan today. You can see how much he means to so many folks. Those comments that you have coming in, those are all people that are clearly impacted by the life that was lived by Dave Jordan. No doubt about it. I think that's extremely cool that Kristen Faulkner, there's another rider, Evie Stevens, that came out of New York. She was working on Wall Street back in 2005 before she made her run at Olympic Glory. So you'll see that New York City has the best and the brightest and the bravest of the folks out here. So this, picking up the action again now, Nathan, we're back, it looks like, with the women's race here. And this 5. So that's interesting. The rider, I'm trying to figure out who was in the yellow jersey here, because she came out of this group and then pretty handily fought her way back in. So I'm not sure what happened there, but that could be one of those in real life bobbles. Maybe she was reaching for a water bottle and slipped or something. You know what I mean? it's because she looks very strong right now, having no trouble holding the pace here.
Yeah, 5 riders here now. As you can see, 1 lap to go in the Central Park women's race. Now at this point, 1 lap to go. And as they head in, 5 riders off the front. They've got a hefty gap at 2 minutes or so over the Myers, Scott, as well as anybody else. No, I believe it's just Myers and Scott, actually. Bollard unable to catch back on after the attack there coming from Myers from the BRT team. So in the men's race, though, we're going to jump back in with them real quickly, and then we'll see the finale for the women's race. In the men's race, we did have a rider off the front. It was Cesare, but he was caught by the train TD bike, and it looks like the train and a few others here now trying to break this train and get this caboose off as quickly as they possibly can. Boardman from Rock Stars goes to the front, and it looks like it's working here, actually. The very aggressive rider that early on, Jay Parker, as well as we're still looking at Maggie here off the back here. Wagner trying to get back on terms, as you can see now. Edmonds here, Star Trek, falling off the back just a little bit, but playing very well. 190, being like a butterfly. The youngins always have these high heart rates. Great to see, as it looks like we've got about 17 riders that have made this front pack here at this point. CRCA all over this, though, as you can see. Lots of yellow still here for their first ever virtual race out in Central Park.
Edmonds, our 13-year-old, is still here. The Star Trek rider punching above his weight by a factor of 10. So taking a look at this group, you know everybody's got to be bracing themselves. There's going to be an attack coming out of this group. It's going to be an interesting plot line to get to the finish line here, how this all plays out. A very select group is what we're looking at. They're going to be getting the bell. But Nathan, the way this works out today, we're going to have a double dip here, two finales in about a 10-minute period, because we'll have the women finishing first, as they should be out on their last lap right now.
Yep, they're out on their last lap. They don't got a whole lot of time. They actually might be finishing right around the exact same time, because right around the corner. So we'll have to wait and see how this ends up playing out. The women are kind of playing cat and mouse a little bit more against each other. So as you can see here, the women, they went through. I think they're going to make it before the men come up on them. We'll have to wait and see. But they're going down toward the Harlem Hill section in just a moment here on the right-hand side of the screen. Left-hand side of the screen, the boys, they're about to take. They still have the sprint section. Excuse me. So they're going to go through the sprint section along park perimeter back end, so they got a little ways before they hit that lap one more time. So there's plenty of time here still. Going to be hitting that 1 lap to go marker in just a minute. But the games have started in the women's race. We're seeing lots of chatter coming on through on social here. We're hearing go Tara Parsons, go Dana. I see a go Sasha in there as well. I'm also hearing a lot about Skufos. Don't sleep on Skufos. What else? Lucy Brash, she is so strong. So lots of comments coming on in about who is racing out on course here. T-Par, I'm hearing, as well as Brash, maybe some of the favorites. We'll have to wait and see as we head in to the final time for these ladies. 3rd time over the top of Harlem Hill. We see the burrito power being used. Not sure what is going on here with Kolchinsky. I think Kolchinsky just looking, there was no attack from her, so maybe just looking for any kind of advantage that she could possibly get. But now making her way to the front now, 6.6 watts per kilogram, 180 beats per minute though.
Nathan, when you're in a group this size, is there any way that you can use the ghost power up to your advantage? I think that they're pretty aware of you at this point, even if you disappear. Yeah.
There
you go.
There we go. The ghost power up just got used. It was actually, I believe it's Skufos who was using it there. Well, and it looks like well, here's what happens though. If you use that at that point right there and they notice that you disappeared, you could get them to jump, because they might think that you're jumping. It didn't seem to work out too well there.
Fake attack. Yes.
Just a little bit of a faker. Didn't fake anybody out, though, as Brash continues on.
You can trigger
as
them.
well as Grossman, 6'5" here.
But I had Kathleen asking what the ghost power-up was for, or what the ghost was. Well, you just saw it right there. You basically disappear for a moment. If you're in a larger group and you disappear, theoretically, people won't really notice, and that's a good time to attack. So that's how that ghost power-up is effectively deployed here. That was not a great example of how one would do that, but nothing gained, nothing lost with that either. So
this is a little bit of a moment though here. Grossman now trying to hang on over the top of Harlem Hill. Very difficult moment for her. 4.8 watts per kilogram. Lucy Brash continues on 5.1. She is pushing the pace. 350 watts. She's just riding him off the wheel. I mean, this is just like, can you hold on to my pure power here right now at 58 kilometers per hour? It looks like they're going to do that. Kolchinski, look at this. An arrow power up. Grossman was saving that for the sprint, but just to hang on to this pack, she has to use it. It will put her back involved very easily. She'll be able to rest a little bit, but man, that arrow power up, for those of you that are unfamiliar here, that reduces the drag on the avatar significantly so that they gain a ton of speed, and that power up is 15 seconds, one of the most coveted power-ups.
Effective, without any doubt.
Effective.
And yeah, without a doubt, Nathan, she didn't want to use it, but she used it at the right time. Because if she was going to dangle off the back of this group for another 30 seconds or a minute, that might have been enough. And now you can see another rider having trouble. So this is just, it's like watching a Chinese water torture here. Riders are really struggling. You don't really see it, but they continue to. That's the third time we've seen riders yo-yoing off the back. And it's not because they're attacking each other. It's just because this has been a brutally hard race as they come up on 25 kilometers in. So they're out on their last lap as we watch the lead group from the women. I think they're going by some traffic from other races out there, but that was not a chase or a catch. Now we've got a little bit of a surge again, Nathan. I think this is going to be Baker, but they bring that together. So go ahead and hit the reset button for our front group there, as they're sitting on 300 watts right now. We're going back over to the men. Nathan is picking up Cesare. This guy has been phenomenal out here today, out on the last lap. This is a hungry bike racer. Let's see if he gets to lick his plate clean, but I don't think so, Nathan. The racing is really starting to hot up now. Here we go. Buckle up, buttercups. This is going to be quite a ride to the finish line now.
Yeah, I just want to jump in with the men. They are just starting their final lap, last lap to go, and we did have an attack for a moment here going into the final lap, into the same section that's been able to split the group quite a bit each and every lap. I was expecting it to be Harlem Hill, but no, it is actually over Cat Paw. So interesting to see as we head into one lap to go. It was, again, as you were saying, Cesare, he was really pressing the pedals here. McCarthy is still in here. McCarthy being that track all-star, 2-time Olympian. This boy can kick for quite a long time. That lead-out train is going to be hard to hang on to, or whether or not he's got the snap. Because of the downhill and the shortness of that snap on the uphill, watch out for McCarthy in that final kick to the line for sure, if he can hang on through some of these attacks. But they were attacking. I saw lots of power-ups used over the top of Cat Paw, so we'll have to wait and see if anybody's got anything left. Who's got the arrows? Who's got the feathers? They're definitely going to matter into that final 200 meters on this final lap for the men out on the Dave Jordan Classic, Central Park here for these boys. Now, back in with the women, though. Let's catch their finale, though, as they head into the final few K here. It's going to start playing some games, I think.
So remembering 9.7 kilometers per lap times 3 for the women. So that's going to get us just under 30. So Nathan, yeah, this is the business end that we're looking at. It's going to be interesting. It's very hard to win out of a 4-rider group, especially, 5-rider group. It's just an interesting dynamic. It's pretty rare, if you think about it, Nathan, that you see an organized, cohesive group of 5 going to the line. It's either much larger or much smaller than that, but rarely do you see this. So how do you sprint out of a group like this? Well, I'm not sure how familiar these riders will be with each other, but where you position yourself, what wheel you're on when the sprint, and we're still a little ways away from that, but certainly how you position yourself going into the sprint, because Nathan, you've done this. The mother of learning is repetition. The more times that you've been able to do this, the more knowledge you've got in that database. In your opinion, Nathan, where do you surge first? And then there's always a second surge for the finale.
Yeah, so as you were saying, I have to completely agree with you there as well. As far as the racing goes for the win, with this many riders, there's just a lot more opportunity to kick. And I think this first kick is going to come into this little climb into the sprint section. Opportunity here, 5%. Like as you can see, it gets a little bit steeper for a moment. I think we get into even a 6, even 7%. See the little red in the upper right-hand corner, 6% currently. It is going to be Scoofus. They said don't sleep on her, and she is given what she can right now to try and break things apart here. Lucy Brash, who was really the instigator just a few K ago, maybe on the back foot a little bit here, maybe trusting Kolchinski, but Kolchinski as well as Grossman, they did not have the watts earlier to close things down. And now Parr's off the back because of that attack, having to put down 7.2. I think she was sleeping. She's got 7 watts per kilogram to give, but I think she just fell asleep. I think that there was just a reality that she was not giving attention to what needed to be happening at that moment now. And now Kolchinski, Brash now to the front, though, trying to respond. It looks like Scoop Scoofus. We only have, I believe it's going to be about 2K to the finish line here.
Exactly.
It's going to be a left-hand turn right around. There's going to be this large bend, a little bit of a punch over a bridge, and then a sharp downhill into the kick into cat paw here. We can see the 0% gradient. It's pure power at this point. Looks like Parr is going to be coming back on terms with Grossman and Kolchinski, though. That's going to be a chase group of 3 trying to bring Brash back in. Looks like that's going to happen as we got a group of 5 back together. The games have started.
Yeah, they really have. This is going to be fun to watch. The champion standard is going to be defined in winning out of this group here as they rapidly come up. So, again, Nathan does a really good job of taking us through that final K. But you're going to see one of the significant features of this finale is the steep pitch that you hit in the last 200 meters, Nathan. I mean, it goes up to 8-9% there. That's a very interesting last 300 meters to the line. I think we're going to hit the bottom of that, the last big effort that you're making out here as 5 riders together now. I think everybody just sitting back a little bit. This is turning into a bit of a Mexican standoff right now, Nathan. Nobody wants to go first. I don't blame them because the rider that goes first so rarely wins.
We do have an attack in the men's race. Just a quick little shout out off the front, over the top of Harlem Hill, Levinson. We can't go over there, though, because this is going to be the games right here as Kolchinski makes her way to the front. This is going to be the last K and a half. We need to stay in this, and this is the first play. And so Brash now looking to close things down. They're just sitting on her wheel. It's going to be really interesting here because they're going to start saying, no, you chase it down. I'm not chasing this down. I need to save it for the sprint. But you're racing for second maybe at that point. Kolchinski still 5-1. Lucy shuts it down. Grossman getting the best of that, though, as she sits on the back, as well as Parr up into 7 watts per kilogram quickly there. Now, is Parr wasting a lot of her effort here at this point as Kolchinski still leads things out? There's going to be a quick little left-hand bend, and then the downhill starts. And from there, it's all about positioning and what do you have for a sharp kick to the line?
Goofus, the rider in the gray Rafa jersey, they're sitting 4th, now 5th wheel. I like what she's doing, Nathan. You see she's staying right in the wheels. I have a feeling she's getting ready to go into her old school fury mode in just a moment. It's like sitting near a ticking time bomb. You know there's going to be explosion any moment. Let's get ready to hit out, Nathan. They're going to start galloping any moment now. This is the pitch that we've been talking about.
Yeah, and here we go. That's the last downhill. Now it's going to be up into this uphill. It's nothing but uphill to the finish line at this time. Parr's leading things out. I'm not sure she's going to have the kick, though, as she leads things out. Invisibility power up here coming from, it looks like, is that going to be Brash? No, I think it's Kolchinski now. Here comes Scoofus, though. They said don't sleep on Scoofus. 8 watts per kilogram. Those orange numbers are starting to pop. 9 watts per kilogram.
She's gone.
Kolchinski's trying to come across. I'm not sure she's going to, is she going to hold on to it? Looks like she's got it. 10 watts per kilogram. 194 beats per minute. It's too late. It looks like Brash slept on it here, and it's going to be Scoofus, Grossman, followed up by Lucy, Brash across the line. 3 places here. And that was interesting, though, the way that ended up playing out. I mean, I think they just waited just a little too long to the finish line there.
Conservative.
Way too conservative. And maybe unfamiliar with the reality of Zwift and where things were at, as far as the line goes and everything. We'll have to, maybe we get some feedback over socials. But back in with the men's race, we'll look at the replay in just a few minutes here on how that ended up playing out. But it's Levinson off the front after Harlem Hill. This is a serious move. We're into the last lap. It's about 5K to go, and he's got a 13-second gap.
Holy cow. Well, Nathan, this is extremely dangerous. Again, it's far from over, but that's the kind of number, 13, 15 seconds with, let's say, 5K left for a little bit less than 5K. So they're going to need to bring back 3 seconds per K, and he's rolling right now. Oh, boy, this is going to be fun. Now, this, if you love your bike racing as scenario,
look at how fast this is. He is just flying nuts.
Well,
look at the 6 watts per kilogram.
I'm just going to put some numbers out there. I would say, I'd love to hear your opinion. They're not quite chasing yet either. So they're going to run out of real estate pretty quickly. This one is in the balance. I would give our lead rider a 50-50 chance. That's huge when you look at the numbers. But if he's sitting on 20 seconds right now, back to a relatively small group, but remembering that there's guys like Mike McCarthy in this group. Mike has been not only world champion in the professional pursuit, that goes back to the early 90s, but Mike made another run at it and set some incredible times at he's a master world champion as well. This is Mike McCarthy's wheelhouse right now. Let's see if they're going to be able to bring him back before the line. This is why we make them race the entire distance, Nathan. We could talk about it all day, but this is what bike racing is all about. It's ratcheting up now. Levinson, your leader. Nathan, this gap is significant. He's made a brilliant play here late in the race.
Yeah, 30 seconds, and they're really sleeping on it here a little bit. They're
not
trusting
bringing it
maybe a
back.
little bit. No, and I don't think that there's enough teammates working together here at this point. Nobody's getting organized. They're all looking at the sprint and wondering about that sprint here. Now going to the front, enough is enough. And we do see it's actually going to be the U23 rider for a moment.
Rider of the day.
Jamison to the front. He was off the back earlier. No, this is a different Jamison Cannondale rider. Baldwin actually here to the front at 5 watts per kilogram. On the downhill, this is where it's going to matter the most. We are going to see seeing some time come back. He's gone out to 30 seconds. I would say that's about what he would need actually to even be close to holding on. He is going into this uphill. There will be this downhill into the sprint section. And from there, it's just the roundabout, the down, and essentially that little dipper into the kick. I mean, there's not much left here.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Nathan, this is the race right here for Levinson. If he can
He's
get
just over
this
the hill,
climb
though.
and not give back. Yep. So he's running out of room now. So that margin that he built up, you could see this is what the game is all about. These are the regulators that we were talking about the other day. They have mountain up. They've got the cold steel in their hand, and they're looking to take care of business right now. When you look at this chase group, Levinson, our leader, he is gritting his teeth now, turning himself inside out. Win, lose, or draw. These are the rides that we remember. No doubt about it. So can Levinson hold them off, Nathan? It's going to be close. We got ourselves a Donnybrook going on in Central Park, New York City right now. So they're under the arch as well. We just saw Levinson cruising under that arch. Okay, this is going to be touch and go.
It really is touch and go. I mean, and the reality is how they are going to start, you would say start galloping. There's going to be this ramp up, but I think the ramp up might come too late. I'm not sure that this pack is going to start chasing or start their lead out into the chase. There just isn't an organized group or team that's going to lead things out or make it hard enough. And he's got 28 seconds at this point with about a K and a half to go. I mean, I think he has done it.
Should be good.
They need to push on at this point, or this is game over. Racing for second as he continues on at 6 watts per kilogram, 180 beats per minute now, 188, almost 190. He is burying himself right now just to hold on. But if he can stick at this, he's going to have this in the bag, I think.
Nathan, can he do this for 2 more minutes? I think so. I have no reason to bet against him. And if these numbers that he's putting up right now, this is going to be good enough. And I mean, this is fascinating. Again, we're going to learn a lot more about the 13-year-old that was leading the group there just a moment ago. We're going to flash back between the vanguard of the race, the Tête de la Corsa. That's your leader there, Levinson. The chase group, Nathan, I think it's fair to say that they gave him way too much leash, and the retractor isn't working. The retractor jammed.
There's no beam. We've left Star Trek this point.
Yeah.
We have Star Trek on course, but no Star Trek, no beam bringing this boy back in. He's got 6 watts per kilogram. He's going to see the finish line in a moment here in the upper right-hand corner. Look at the map here as I'm changing a little bit of views for a second. All he's got is this little bend around the left-hand corner, a downhill and a sharp kick. The speed on the downhill is actually going to help him out a little bit to get to the line. He's a little uphill gradient here, 35 seconds though, but they're really sleeping. They've decidedly racing for second, I think, at this point. They all know that he is gone.
One last uncomfortable moment for Levinson, and then that'll be it.
Whoa, the galloping 14 watts per kilogram. Baldwin goes. Here's the response now. They have started at over a K to go here. Cesare is trying to go across. Invisibility power coming from Wagner. Oh my goodness, it's all on, but it's too little too late. Levinson sees it start up behind him though, and he's maybe getting a little bit worried. At these moments, you start thinking in your brain, do I have enough? I think I've got enough.
This is the first time he's probably gone to the engine room and they said, we're done. There's no more power left, but it's okay because there's the finish line. This is the champion standard in Central Park, New York City. Nathan, what a brilliant win for Levinson here today. A solo win.
Yes.
Yeah, and now we can see it looks like whoa, my goodness, here comes McCarthy. McCarthy's trying to take it out. McCarthy to the line. This is for second place. Will he do it? No, it's going to be Star Trek. It's the U13 rider across the line.
No way.
Oh, my goodness, for second place. It's Edmonds. U13 comes on through. Well, you know the kick. Over the top of that, there's just a reality of watts per kilogram on that uphill, and he rolled right on through from the middle of the pack perfectly and came across that line flying. And that's really what it's about. It's about that, and it looks like he's on the track. Did you see he kept on spinning? Maybe he's actually on a track bike at home. Actually, I saw his wheels still spinning.
Yeah. That was awesome. Folks, I think the most important thing to say now is that Dave Jordan would be smiling down on this one. Whether it's the 13-year-old Edmonds out there, across the board, that's great racing. That's our community. I love Zwift, and I love it because of you. So this is a great way to start the weekend, Nathan.
Absolutely awesome way to start the weekend. Absolutely loving this. Let's go ahead and take a quick look, though. We do have a couple of replays to take a look at here real quick. Let's take a look at the women's replay and how things ended up playing out there. Skoufis there coming across the line in first place with a solid kick. As you can see here, a quick little 9 watts per kilogram from her to get there and just separates herself immediately. I can see Lucy Brash there behind.
That's the moment.
Looks like
she
Lucy
doesn't bring them with her. Yeah.
8 watts per kilogram, but I don't think Lucy had a response. She did so much work early on to just kind of try and break the rest of the ladies. And it looks like Skoufis there, she just had a solid kick. So held on to 10 watts per kilogram. Grossman then, as you can see, coming across the line for that second place. And then Brash there. Clearly, that aero power could have done a little bit more for her, though, if she would have opened up a little bit earlier, I think, with it. The timing there, not quite on, it looks like, between them on the day. So still a solid result, though, for those top 3. We'll see if we can get some results in here for everybody as well in just a moment. I do believe I do have results then officially for the ladies as we...
While you're finding that, Nathan, I think this is a great time to thank our friends like Eric Min and Charlie Eisendorf at Zwift for helping create this platform that we have so much fun on. I love that these guys, Nathan, walk it like they talk it. Right? They're not only the executives that are driving this vision forward, but they're out here Zwifting with us. And we got to look now. So I don't know who it was who let us know that don't sleep on Skoufos, but you were 100% correct. That was a brilliant win today with Grossman finishing for silver, Lucy Brash for bronze, Kristen Kay in 4th, T. Parr in 5th. Then it's Myers, Scott, Culver, Sauvier, and then Lisa Art rounding out our top 10 for the women.
Solid result there all around. Let's take a quick look, though, over at the replay for the men's side of things. This was a really super interesting sprint that came across the line for first. Well, actually, it was a walkaway. A walkaway here from Levinson here. Levinson just, no problem whatsoever here coming from Levinson. 35 seconds.
Don't see this often. You
Look
really
at
don't see this often.
8 watts per kilogram. They're screaming behind, though. Look at how they're coming on like a freight train right now.
Yeah.
25 seconds, as you can see here. 23. You can see Bud's there from Endurance Works there as well. McCarthy's opening things up as well. Here we go back to the sprint. Look at how fast they were coming on. And here comes, it looks like McCarthy trying to hold on, unable to do so. Star Trek
Nathan?
comes on through 11 watts per kilogram. That's the rest of the riders that they came on across.
Did they underestimate Levinson today? Just play their cards wrong? What happened there? It is so rare that, if you do see a solo rider win, it's usually by 3 or 4 seconds, not the advantage that Levinson had today. What do you think happened? Did they underestimate the solo leader?
Yeah, I think there was
underestimate.
I also think they might have been tired out too. They just there might have been a reality that they were maybe they trusted too much. Maybe they just trusted too much. I think you're right. I think that they underestimated the reality of it. The flatter course, too, I think was part of it. A lot of times there's just a larger group is going to bring back a lot more time with a little bit more downhills, and there wasn't a lot of opportunity for that pack to gain as much speed. And with how flat the back end of the course was, I think Levinson could just power away, and you can see he ended up with a solid 11 seconds. That's a huge gap in Zwift racing up against a pack like this.
And remembering how much they closed in the last K, too, that 11 seconds was really more like 20 there. So congratulations, Eric. That's a great job. And then the ride of the day with that, of course, his first name is Enzo, the coolest name ever. Enzo Edmonds, young man, you are now officially on my radar. That was the kind of ride. I tell you what, you were racing with a guy who was the world professional pursuit champion, Mike McCarthy. And Enzo, I guarantee you that Mike right now is thinking this kid is a stud. So good job. Vivian Rindisbacher, the Canadian, for third, Aiden Charles in fourth, Thomas the Train in fifth, Noggle. Then we mentioned Mike McCarthy, Butts, Huseman, and Gazzard. That's our top 10 today for the Park Perimeter Loop. That was an absolute blast. Dave Jordan, boy, any friend of Dave Jordan's is a friend of mine. I'll put it that way. Is this man who we lost in 2012 clearly has created a legacy. And Nathan, that's the hardest thing in the world to do, is create a legacy.
Yeah,
Thank
quick
you,
little,
Tenley. That's
Tenley
sweet.
coming
That
on
really
through.
is.
Great to see Tenley jumping in here. Really appreciate the Tenley to say that Dave would be so proud. Thank you so much. No problem. We absolutely love it. Love the support as well. And a quick little shout out as well to Levinson, as we're seeing that he is also actually the Mount Washington hill climb last year. So no surprise on his walk away, as obviously he's got a solid kick for that amount of time. If he can take down Mount Washington, is no joke.
That's an insane climb. I mean, Tyler Hamilton, Tim Johnson have held the record on that. I mean, that's the kind of climb when you start, you have no idea what it's going to be like when you finish. So that was great, Nathan. Thanks again. Swift Community Live in full effect on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, absolutely loving the community. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. If you haven't done so already, you want more Swift Community Live, go ahead and hit those follow buttons. We are live on Twitch, Mixer, YouTube, Facebook, as well as Twitter. Hit those follow buttons to know whenever we'll be releasing our schedule for this next week, late Monday night. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We really appreciate the opportunity to do this, kick off with the Dave Jordan Classic. Me and Dave will be back on Tuesday for the next broadcast. We are obviously doing the Ride Reel series with Wahoo and 3R. So we'll see you guys then. Cheers, everybody. Great job to all the racers, as always. And as always, everybody, ride on.